we don't know if anything we've ever learned in our life is the truth anymore. That's where I'm getting to, Wayne, right now.
I'm right in the same boat, brother. Yeah, it really is.
And it's tough. I mean, maybe this is a good final, place to leave a final thought, Wayne. And I'd like to get your thoughts on this too. But you go through a lot of change when you start to actually open your eyes and actually allow, common sense questioning of the current state of affairs, and you start to connect dots, and you start to maybe take one step further in to say what's really behind all of this, and why is there so much subterfuge? Why is there so much spy versus spy? And then you start asking fundamental questions like, why have human beings behaved the way they behaved over the let's just take the last 2 centuries, Wayne. I mean, that's enough warfare and bloodshed for, a tummy full, right?
Oh, Steve, I really do. I really mourn for our species. And, I know that I like to bring people, edify them and lift them up, but, Steve, we don't seem to learn. We just don't seem to get it. And
right.
That's why I believe that we're doomed. I don't believe that there's any savior that could save us. I think that, Steve, we have been programmed this way. I've done enough, and I'm continue to still do my research, on the bloodline invaders, and that this DNA manipulation, it goes deep. And don't we all like to hold hands and sing Kumbaya? But you know what? At some point in time, you got to realize no matter what song you're singing, we're still killing. We're still stealing. We're still depriving. We're still dominating. That's what we do. It's inherent to us, Steve Olson, and that's the problem. And I guess as we leave off on here, maybe you and I can make a difference. That's the expression, haters are going to hate. We see them all the time in the comments. And those are the way those people I just see. They can't write something in an intelligent manner. They got to write something that's hateful.
Or come up with a better idea.
Exactly.
And if you've got a better idea, I'm all ears.
Just because you have a point of view, Steve Olson, doesn't mean that you're somehow or another. I've read some of this stuff.
No, omnipotence.
Yeah, and it's sad, Steve. It really is sad. So I hope the reason why I am involved in this is that I really think that in the midst of everything that we're seeing, that we can provide maybe some clarity. And maybe it's a sliver, but maybe it will be enough that we can pass it on to those coming behind us. Because our generation, the baby boomers, we've screwed the pooch so bad on this. And
this kind of goes back to in the midst of all this like troubling, current events and so forth. Here I find myself, looking around and finding out that things, aren't what they seem. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, that can be a pretty traumatic process, and that can cause people to really lose their, marbles, if you know what I'm saying.
And it does.
Yeah. And what I'm trying to tell people is that just because you're learning this stuff doesn't mean that you need to be blowing up your whole life or anything like that. It just means that you're going to have to go through some changes in your point of view and your perspective, and things are going to evolve. And, if you think that learning stops at age 50 or whatever, or 60 or whatever number you want to put on it, it doesn't have to.
No. Every day should be approached. I guess one of the best lines I ever heard out of one of the movies was when Joe versus the volcano. And when they're out on the boat and Meg Ryan says, my father says that most people are asleep. And it's only a very few people who are truly awake. And he says those people who are truly awake, they live in a state of awe. So if you want to know what it means to be awake, are you living in a state of awe? Is it the world around you new, even though you've seen it 1,000 times? Are new thoughts able to come into the crevice of your perceptions of what you think is real? Because if you can allow that to happen, Steve, we can live in a state of awe.
And furthermore, if you're in that state of a wakefulness, in my opinion, you're much less easy to manipulate. I really do believe that the elites or the powers that be, they rely on the idea that that's not possible. That idea, this what you're saying is just impossible. Well, give me one good reason why what I'm saying is impossible.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
nobody can answer that question usually.
No.
So they use that tendency that we have as human beings to buy into this rigid structure and view of the universe so that they can manipulate us, man.
And I believe we're going to break that. I think that's
yeah.
I think that's why we see the craziness in here in the United States in our political structure. I mean, if you don't think that things have shifted, ladies and gentlemen, just look around. Steve, and we ought to do more on this, that this shift that took place, I think it's only one of several that are yet to have unfold. I think we got a couple more coming.
Yeah, I do too. And I think there's a lot of people, and this is one of the things I'd like to start expanding some of our interviews down the road with people that are, that are looking at this from a broader perspective, that there is a change going on that's affecting Homo sapiens, okay, all of us. And I think we do have choices on how we react to that change.
I think we do, yes. We just haven't been taught the right way.
Right. And we haven't even been taught that we could have a choice.
Yeah. I mean, we approach most of the things as adults as how we see it when we're growing up. And as children, we're ridiculed. Most of us react in a knee-jerk reaction of fear, defensive, where we were never really taught this expression of understanding more or less. Steve, one of the things that you did for me about a year ago when you made the point of how the Buddhist looks at that, who looks out of my eyes? And now as I look at this, I've come to the place where I understand I never see my face. I can see my hands, I can see my arm, I can see my chest, but I can't see my face. So it means more to me.
I'm glad I can't see your face.
Well, it is what it is. But the point is that if we all became much more aware of of who you are, and then when I meet a person like Steve Olson, who I get to know, and realize it's a good soul, and there are bad souls. It's just a choice. And so,
it doesn't mean that I'm perfect.
Listen, I'll just put it this way. My 5th grade teacher, Miss Buttons, as she told me, she said, Wayne, she said, an ounce of common sense will outdo a pound of book learning any day. And remember this, when someone is pointing a finger at you, they've got 3 more pointing back at them. I'll just leave it with that.
I think that's a good place to leave it, man. Thanks for coming on again, and look forward to the next time we talk, brother.
Let's do it.